we're really excited to have a conversation about friendship, especially at the stage of life that we're in now. Your view of friendship, your insecurities and things, they're very different than they were like as a teenager.
Yeah. As you get older, it's harder to maintain friendships. It's harder. You do have to be intentional about keeping friendships. And I'm a big champion for friendships. I think they're super, super important.
What has your faith, your personal faith and relationship with Christ taught you about grace in friendships?
The decision to actually move away from that friendship group was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I just thought, I don't feel comfortable here. Like, I don't actually think these girls love me as much as I love them.
I am a big believer, even though there's less time and you kind of don't have the years to invest that maybe you did, I'm a big believer that we should be open to new friendships.
Agreed.
Healthy boundaries don't mean that you can't then have deep friendships. Whereas I used to feel like if you have any boundaries, that maybe the person will feel like you're not really like invested in the friendship. But he's had friends who like literally now coming up to like 20, 25 years, he's still super close to those people. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Conversations. My name's Ruth, and I'm the founder of Magnify, and I'm so honoured to have you as part of our community.
And my name's Rachel, and I'm one of the hosts of this show, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to another episode.
If you're new to Magnify, we're a platform and global community focused on equipping ambitious women of faith. We do this through our print magazine, through our events, and through this podcast.
So before you continue watching this video, we have a favour to ask. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button now. This means we can reach more women with gospel-led wisdom and content. So do that now. Today, we sat down with Dami to talk about the evolving nature of friendship, especially in adulthood where loneliness is more common than we admit.
Dami is a content creator and trainee employment lawyer with a refreshing, faith-filled perspective on showing up for friends, letting go when needed, and building community with intention.
We loved how honest and hopeful this conversation felt, and it reminded us that real friendship still matters even as life changes.
Let's get into this conversation.
Dami, it is so good to have you with us today. Ruth, we're really excited to have a conversation about friendship, especially at the stage of life that we're in now. I think especially in our 30s, late 20s, 30s, 40s, friendship are certainly for me. Your view of friendship, your insecurities and things, they're very different than they were like as a teenager. So we're gonna have a really good conversation about that today. But first, always with our guests, we love to do an icebreaker.
Okay.
Ruth's got a question. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
I just want to know, because you're wearing just the most amazing dress today.
It's stunning, isn't
and we
it?
know you love colour.
I do.
What is one of your favourite dress designers? Like, so let me rephrase the question. If you were going to like a red carpet, you could wear any designer and you need to wear a dress, what would it be?
I'd say Ibalola Ogundepe. She's a Nigerian designer. She's really good with like textures and different colours and just really flamboyant.
It will be a standout piece.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love her.
Who would yours be, Rachel?
Do you know, mine would be Oscar de la Renta, hands down. For a red carpet, hands down, no questions. It hits every time for me.
Amazing. I actually don't know for a red carpet, but I feel like for special occasions, Vivienne Westwood. I just love like the silhouette that she creates for women. I think just on like any shape always looks incredible. So that would be mine. If you, Dami, were going to a desert island and you could only take 3 things in your bag. It doesn't need to be, I know because it's Magnify, I would take my Bible and a devotional. Okay, that aside, what else? What would be 3 things that you would take?
I take my phone, because it's got my Bible on there. It's a 2 for 1. I take a really good lip balm.
I was literally about to say that. I knew that you would take the kind of beauty thing.
I'm sorry, I can't have dry lips. There's so much going on already. And this is so hard. Maybe like a hairbrush or something.
So just all within the beauty space.
Yeah, because everything else that I think of, I could do on my phone. So maybe like a nice hairbrush, a lip balm, and my phone.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I would need an SPF for my face 100%. So I'd need something that's like an SPF balm.
Yeah.
I can put it on my lips, I can put it on my dry like feet and things. And then I would have to have music. So if I was allowed a phone, probably a phone.
Yeah.
And then something to write with. So definitely a notepad. If I had music would be the key for me.
Yeah.
I would take my phone because it would need to have ChatGPT. I am obsessed. I know I keep saying this. I'm obsessed with ChatGPT. I use it as a therapist, a researcher, so many different things.
It'd be a companion on the desert island.
It literally would. So for me, I would definitely have to take a scent of some kind, maybe a diffuser or a candle. I just, anyone who knows me, I'm obsessed with scents. Hopefully Dr. Branges would be what I would take.
One of the giant like diffusers.
A good 1,200 mil. So yeah, that would be me.
I feel like I could change my answer now because I definitely have a scent in there because I love smells and
that's true actually. When you walked in, everyone was like, Dami smells incredible.
Yeah, that's the biggest compliment. It's the biggest compliment because I love scent. So when people actually compliment me, it's like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing because I mix a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, the combo. I mean, it was real. I had my iPhone notes open. Like, what that again, damn it.
I will give you the combo after.
No gatekeeping here, love it.
No, we love it.
I mean, I gatekeep for everybody else, but
not for you.
Yeah, not for you guys.
So privileged. So, Dami, and Ruth, we're going to be talking about friendship. But I would love to know from you, Dami, like, why is it important that we're actually having this specific conversation today? Out of everything we could speak about, why is it important to you that we're speaking about friendship today?
Two things. I think the first one being that as you get older, it's harder to maintain friendships. When you're younger, there's like proximity. So you're either in school, in college, so you see your friends all the time. But as you get older, everyone's working, people are moving away. That's what I'm dealing with now. Like lots of my friends are just moving super far. And it's harder. You do have to be intentional about keeping friendships. And I'm a big champion for friendships. I think they're super, super important. So yeah, and I know a lot of adults struggle with maintaining adult friendships. Yeah. And secondly, I think we've just, as a community, we've just become very comfortable with being we need to become more comfortable with inconveniencing ourselves for the people around us. I think there's this air of, I don't owe anyone anything, and if it doesn't suit me, I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to put myself first. But I just don't know how we've gotten there. It's horrible. And we just need to be more willing to go out of our way for the people that we love and for the people around us. That's what builds good friendships, good relationships, and community.
Amazing.
Yeah. Ruth, what about you?
I guess like one thing I've definitely noticed is getting older, especially like balancing children and work and different things, is friendships change. And I'm finding that, like sometimes when you talk to our parents' generation, they don't have like 45 friends. It's like they have 5 people who they can really actually depend on. And so I think that's what I'm seeing, that is both like painful, but also just the reality of life, but also makes you want to like actually genuinely show up for the friends that are in your life. And I love, a lot of our friends have moved away as well. So really like investing those times, whether it's like planning a trip to like a city or something for 3 days, given that you live in like different parts of the world. I feel like as I'm getting older, the people that I call friends, you're really like, no, we are going to like invest, inconvenience ourselves because this friendship actually means a lot. But definitely seeing that like as you get older, you just also have limited time. Like I know there's that meme that goes around that's like, when you become an adult, booking like coffee with your friend, it's like, are you free on like October the 7th at 3 p.m, between 3 to 5 p.m. in this location where it's convenient for me to get to? So yeah, I think it's also realizing that as you get older, you just have like limited capacity. But the people that you do say are your friends, actually making sure that you're there for them. What about you, Rach?
So for me, I felt really challenged, Dami, when you started speaking, and you as well, Ruth, about really good friends who've moved away. For me, a lot of the people that I really, really love and have been with me through, I guess also quite formative times in your life. I think sometimes they become people that, even if you're not with them all the time, you sort of bonded to them in a special and a unique way. I'm terrible, really terrible at keeping in contact with people when I'm not in their vicinity. Awful. And I think I've always just been like, oh yeah, I'm not great at WhatsApp. I'm not great at... I'm like, and actually when you were speaking, I was like, I actually need to change that, because if I really value these friendships, I'm gonna have to learn to interact differently. I find it easier when I'm in proximity with people to be like, are we going out for dinner tonight? I'm such like a quality time girl. Like that's my thing. I wanna be with people, I wanna be in the room with people. So I think I find it hard. I'm not really like a let's sit and talk on FaceTime or speak on the phone if I can avoid it. But maybe I just need to change. So I think the conversation is important for me because I'm learning as well. And also I've been through, I think in the last 10 years especially, drastic friendship changes with some people that I've grown up with and been very, very close to. And we might still be friends, but the friendship has changed.
Right.
So I think learning how to interact with long-term friendships that have changed. Also, I am a big believer, even though there's less time and you kind of don't have the years to invest that maybe you did, I'm a big believer that we should be open to new friendships.
Agreed.
And people
100%.
my age, quite often, like, I've got enough friends, I just think, well, okay, I want God to bless me with friendships. They can't be people that I've known for 20 years at this stage of my life, but perhaps I'm being closed-minded. What do you think about that? Because I think it's always an interesting one because we're already busy, we already have people we're committed to, and maybe when people say to you, like, oh, I've kind of like got my friendships now, how do you see that?
I think it's so limiting. And I like to believe that God has not given us all the people that are going to love us yet. So through life, through different seasons, different people are going to come in. And I always pray for my destiny helpers. So if I'm actively saying I'm not going to make any new friends, I can be closing the door to a destiny helper. And I think quite a few of my really close friends, I've met them in the last, I'm going to say 5 years. And I'm so grateful for them. And even though I feel like I'm probably at my capacity with friendships, I have so many friends, like the birthday dinners are getting bigger and bigger each year. But I'm never close to making new friends. I just, why would I? I mean, it's hard because time is less and responsibilities are more and priorities are different, but you know, a lot of friendships don't have to be super, super high maintenance.
That's true.
And everybody's got their own thing going on. But I'm always willing to like meet new people and just connect with people, especially people in the faith. I'm never going to say no to. So,
what has your faith, your personal faith and relationship with Christ taught you about grace in friendships? Because I think that that's something, again, in our very like transactional society. It's like, if this isn't working for me, then, you know, all the best. What has, your faith, how does that inform how you show grace to people in your friendships?
I think this kind of ties in with like forgiveness, which is something that I'm quite open about. I've really struggled with for a big part of my life. I think now I'm getting better because I have to. Like, I can't keep dealing with the same things. But when I think about all the things I do wrong to Christ and how much grace and forgiveness he has for me, I have no choice. I think a lot of the times when we're in situations, we see things from our point of view and we know our hearts and we're like, well, I didn't mean it like that. And, you know, that wasn't my intention, but the other person is feeling the exact same way. So when you realize that we're all making mistakes, we're all offending each other, we have to extend grace, especially if you want like long-lasting friendships. I don't want to be someone that is chopping and changing friends every 2 years. There's different people at my birthdays. That's not what I want. So if you want like relationships that actually stand the test of time, you have to give grace because people will offend you and you will offend people. And I think the kind of grace you want, you have to be willing to give it. So I'm definitely doing better at giving grace. It's important.
It's good.
Yeah.
So I think for me, actually, one thing that my parents always used to say to me that wasn't a positive was more that I was very quick to be like, oh my gosh, I just met this person and like, we're literally best friends. They're like, you've known them for a week.
This
Like,
is my mum.
just give things time, get to know someone, get to know their character. And so I think what's changing with me as I get older is still feeling joy at new friendships, but like applying wisdom and being like, let's go through seasons before I'm like immediately rushing to like make this person a godparent for my child that I met on Monday. So I think that used to be such like a defining feature of how I would view friendships, which meant that you were then always disappointed where like, maybe then realising that this person wasn't seeing you as their best friend, but that's fine because they only met you
so
2 weeks ago.
But it is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. I'm sorry, I take
How
it to
can
heart.
you not love me as much as I love
I love you so much. And
I think like, as you get older, as you say, it's a two-way thing of knowing you can still have really quality friendships and not have to be best friends, but also just like time will tell. And I don't actually mean this in like a bad way or even like transactional way, but also where people see you in their lives. And I think it's like the wisdom to move accordingly, but still be very graceful is something that I'm like, it doesn't need to be beef. It doesn't need to be an issue. If you thought that they were your best friend and they don't see you as that, that's literally not a problem. You can still be friends, but obviously don't like invest like every hour of the day. But yeah, I think that that's something that I'm really learning is friendships. It's maturity to give friendships time to like evolve and grow, and for you to also get to know each other. Because I had a situation a couple of years ago. The lady was really lovely, but like the more that I had coffee with her, I realized that she was just someone that always would like project her insecure. Like you'd be like, oh my gosh, I like that person's hair. It's like, I don't think that they should have that type of hair. It's like, I mean,
negative.
Not sure that it bothers you.
Yeah.
But I realized it came from not even that she was trying to be mean, just like issues that she was working with. But I just found that like every time we met, I felt very drained afterwards. And then I was then like, okay, I need to reflect that she's still a lovely person, but maybe we don't need to be in so much constant close proximity. And yeah, I think it's just wise to like give things time and not, you know, always see people with grace and have grace for where people might be in their journey, but know that you don't always need to like imbibe that into your own life because it might not be healthy. What role would you say that like friendships in life play for you, like in the season that you're in now?
They're my community, my tribe. My friendships are so important to me. I think I'm always giving love letters to my friends and just going on about how much I love my friends because they have really, really shown themselves. And I'm someone that I'm very comfortable with using the term friendly associate because not everybody is your friend. Sometimes you're just cool and, you know, maybe we can like go out here and there, but they're not your actual friends. But I think my friends are, they're amazing. They, you know, they lift me up. They encourage me. You know, where you have like people that you can share any news with, especially with good news. I think bad news, it's, you know, it's not hard to find people to like support you. But with good news, there's that air of like, are things weird? Like, if I've said that, what's your like response like? But
is there envy sometimes, can't there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's where it comes.
Female friendships,
when everyone's trying to like get to the top. But, you know, just people that are genuinely happy for you. And when things are bad, they're there to pick you up and really, really just champion you in the things that you're doing. It's not easy to find, but I do find that when you work on becoming that person, you will attract those kind of people 100%.
Because I was going to ask, like, Dami, from knowing of you, one thing I know is like you and your female friends, you guys go so hard for each other in a way that is like so inspiring. Like you'll see someone got a new job, it's like they've got a cake and flowers and
so
this.
nice.
And how is it, you kind of touched upon, but I'd love to dig deeper. How is it that you have found these women, but also cultivated friendships to that level? Because I know what we see a lot as in like culture in social media is like the term frenemies and people actually being really concerned that the people they thought were close are actually almost like secretly wanting their life, so can't be completely happy with them. How have you found those type of women who value friendship as much as you do?
I think prayer, because I never used to have really good female friendships. So I've got like my OGs that are friends that I've been with for years. But I think there was a period in my life, probably about 10-ish years ago, that there was like, it was a bit of a girl group, but these girls hated me. It became very apparent that they hated me. And I just felt really, really uncomfortable until like even detach myself from that group was a really big thing. I think people talk about friendship breakups and it is so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. And the decision to actually move away from that friendship group was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I just thought, I don't feel comfortable here. Like, I don't actually think these girls love me as much as I love them. And I think after that, I then went through a phase of, I'm just gonna be friends with guys. They're so much easier. They don't have any stress. And I've grown up in a family with a lot of like males, so I'm quite comfortable around men. And one of my like kind of older sister, she has that kind of, we have that kind of relationship. She said, Dami, you have too many male friends. This is really off-putting to any guy that wants to date you. It's just, I don't think you're around enough women. And I don't know when things changed, but it was definitely something I prayed about because I thought, I know I have so much love to give. I want that sisterhood. I want that friendship. I don't have any sisters. And it was just so important to me. But I prayed like on my knees in tears because I was so heartbroken with like the previous group. And I don't know when it started happening, but honestly, God just started to bring these different ladies into my life. And I think being on social media as well is really good. I know some people are very apprehensive about making friends on social media, but I think when you create content that kind of shows you attract the people that are similar to you. So doing that helped. I've met a lot of amazing women on social media, so I'll never knock it. And then we just find that our values align and the kind of people we are align, and they're women of God, so that also helps. So it's not always been like this, but it's been years of praying, fasting, working on becoming a better friend myself. I think certain friends that I've met, they've taught me how to be a better friend.
Wow.
So
In what ways?
So I remember there was one day that I was unwell and I wasn't even on my phone too much. And I think I'd mentioned it to my friend, and she had like been trying to call me and I'd missed all the calls. And then I just see a text that, I've left, she had left like a care package outside my door. And I thought, this is so crazy. Like, no, I've never experienced friendship like this, but she had like dropped it and left. I think she'd been trying to call me to let me know, but she didn't even care to see me. She just wanted to like let me know it was there. So I've gone to my door and I've seen like food, drinks, like med. It was just so sweet. And I thought, okay, so this is something that I can do for my friends, because my mind just wouldn't go there. But I learned how to be a better friend by having good friends. So just always willing to like learn, to do better, to show up more. But honestly, the girls are amazing. They've taught me so much about showing up and like being present. So I'm so grateful for them.
So I think one of the things I loved is you said how your friends have taught you to be a better friend. And I think a lot of us, myself speaking from personal experience, is that if friendships don't go the way that we want or we hoped, it can be so easy to be, oh no, it was because they did this or they did that. Whereas actually sometimes we need to look inward and think, you know, did we show up for them in the way that they needed? Were we sensitive to what they were going through? How have you kind of continually asked you more of yourself? Because I think friendships are different to like relationships, where if like you have a partner, I think they more often than not will be more vocal, like they don't like this or this made them feel a kind of way. Whereas I think sometimes with friendships, you can just be a bit like, it's easier to like step back rather than like have those conversations. So how have you kind of continually called yourself to like a higher standard in your friendships?
I think I'm guilty, but I can be guilty of just kind of like taking a step back. I don't like confrontation like at all, especially with my friends. I think I just want it to be like light and fun, but sometimes it's not going to be light and fun. And I think my friends are really good at having the conversations. So I might not be good at opening up the conversation, but when it's there, I'll have the conversation. So
thank you so much for joining us to get stuck into another episode of the Magnify Conversations. My name's Rachel.
And my name's Sinead, and we'll be your hosts today as we're joined by standout women who guide us through their life stories and areas of expertise, from relationships, work, finances, and more, all from a perspective that glorifies God.
We know so many of you already watch these conversations, so if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hit the button below now. It lets us know that we're creating the type of content that you want, and it helps us to reach more women internationally.
We know you're going to gain so much wisdom to help you level up, so let's get started.
my friends are really good. They notice when like my energy shifted or it's off. So they'll be like, Dami, is everything okay? Are you offended? And I'm like, no, I'm not offended. But, you know, last week when we were, you know, and you said this, it made me feel away. So I'm trying to I'm getting better at actually like addressing things if I feel like actually I didn't like that or there was an issue, because we're always going to offend each other. I offend my friends may offend me at times, but it's just having that open communication and just trying to be like, if this is a friendship I value, let me just sort it out so I can move forward and not like be harboring feelings of, oh, I don't know. But yeah, just more open communication.
Yeah, and I feel like even that is, you're right, Ruth, it is easier, well, certainly for me as I reflect on it, it is easier to confront things in a romantic relationship.
Absolutely.
But I think with friendship, and I'd say confront maybe the wrong word, but like have an honest conversation about just little things that you get grit about, or somebody says something and you feel a bit like, oh, that was uncalled for, it was unwarranted, or like basically I'm offended and I'm not just being sensitive, like that was kind of offensive.
Yeah.
We find it hard to approach those conversations, but there's a difference between that and getting better at that and then knowing actually this friendship or this friendship group is not actually that healthy, and maybe we were healthy at one time, but right now, like either we've changed or I've changed or something's off. And I want to go back to what you said, because this wasn't just like a friendship breakdown with one person for you. This was like a group, and I feel like that is, I mean, I can't imagine. I feel like the insecurity levels around leaving a group of friends is crazy, even just compared to feeling like there's distance between me and one person.
Yeah.
Can you like tell us a bit of what that was like, and maybe Ruth as well, just like if you've had to go through essentially what is like a breakdown in friendship?
It was very hard. I think when you spend so much time with the group, and I was much younger then, so naturally I just had I just had so much more time. So when you're spending all this time with people, all your free time, and then it goes from that to nothing, it is very hard. And you do feel, well, at least I did, I felt quite insecure and, you know, who am I going to call if I need this? And it's not like I didn't have any other friends. I think that group was just the group that I spent the most time with. It was such a long time ago. It just feels like, I felt like I was a different person back then as well. A lot more, I didn't have boundaries. And I think that's probably why things didn't go very well in the friendship. And I was just very okay with like wrongdoing. And if someone said something about me or spoke to this person about me, I'll just like brush it off because for the sake of peace. But I knew that over time I was very uncomfortable and I just didn't feel good. And I think you mentioned earlier that, you know, when you left that friend, you feel really drained. That's such a big telltale. Like, you can't ignore feelings like that. Sometimes we can be oversensitive, but if it's happening constantly and you're feeling drained and you just don't feel good about yourself, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a sign.
It's a big sign. So it can be hard. I'm not even going to pretend like it's easy to kind of leave what you're used to, but you just have to want better for yourself and believe that you deserve better. And if you know that you can give better and you can be the friend that you're asking for, then why wouldn't you just like take a chance?
Yeah.
Have you had to navigate friendship breakups, Rach?
Yeah, I have. And so actually, how old would I have been? So I was probably, it's not super recent, but late 20s, like maybe touching 30, went through a really, really difficult friendship breakdown. Like, it's still, I'll tell you, it ended well, but for probably like 3 years. And this is someone who, and she might hear this, love you, like we're friends. But it was someone who, you know, everybody calls everybody sis now. No, literally like sister. This is like a sister relationship. And I have 3 natural sisters. This was literally, even my parents would say, this is like the 5th child.
Wow.
And so for different reasons, we went through not just like, there's a bit of distance and we've changed, like an actual fallout. She's not like me either, and not like her. And we'd been very, very good friends for a long time, got married at the same time, all that sort of stuff, but for many, many years since we were teenagers. And so when that broke down, I remember thinking, I'm never going to have a friend like this again.
That's
like it was painful. And it was quite a difficult season of both of our lives. And so the good side of it is, and I'm not saying this happens every time, I'd been actually having counselling at the time, and this came up in the counselling because it was such a significant thing. It was like losing a family member to me, and we weren't speaking at all. And it's the difficulty of, we still had a lot of the same friends. So many of our friends got married that year. So it was kind of like, we're going to the weddings, but it's very awkward. And it's like going from being like someone that you're one of the closest people to like a stranger. It was just not good. And I just believed we will never be friends again. But I began to pray about it, and I was really hurt. She was really hurt. Over time, probably 2 years after this had all happened, she actually reached out to me and said, I think it'd be good for us to speak. And I remember just thinking, no, I can't do it.
Really?
Yeah. And I just kind of said, I'm not ready at the minute. And I don't know that I was harboring resentment, but I think I feared like, I don't even know what it's like to sit and have a conversation at this level after everything that's happened. There was a lot of hurt on both sides. But eventually, probably a couple of months after that, I reached out to her and said, listen, I know I kind of battered you back last time. I do think we need to speak. And I remember just the anxiety levels before the conversation. I prayed about it. I'd told like a couple of like very close friends, I'm going to be doing this. Can you pray for me? I don't know what to say. I don't want to drag anything in this conversation that shouldn't be in it. I want this to be a point of resolution. And we met somewhere that we used to meet locally. We met for about 3 or 4 hours, and it couldn't have gone better. Now, did we skip off into the sunset? No. But it was like a real healing moment. And from that, we started to kind of see each other a bit more. The resentment had gone. And we're good friends now, again. But the relationship is very different to what it was. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
I feel like there was a full breakdown, and there's been a bit of an evolution. I think we had to understand about each other there were different reasons that we came to where we came to. But the big thing in it all was letting go of resentment and unforgiveness. And then it's not for, I literally thought we would never walk forwards again as friends at all.
Wow.
And we've been able to. And I'm actually so grateful for that. Because she's still someone I would view as like, this is someone who I've spent some of the most significant years of my life with. But our relationship's different now, but I'm okay with that. And she is too.
Wow.
So I think it's part of growing up. We're in our mid to late 30s now, so. But yeah, this was like 5 years ago.
Wow. So, you know, when she reached out and you said that you didn't want to, or you weren't up for meeting, what would you say was like the biggest driving?
For me, not wanting to meet, fear.
Okay.
Because I think I didn't know how to not be absolutely best friends with this person.
Wow.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, because obviously we'd not seen each other, we didn't actually live in the same area then either, so we weren't bumping into each other regularly, but because we had a lot of the same long-term friends, it was always just very awkward. So in that same year where all of this had happened, a lot of our friends were getting married, or it was somebody's 30th birthday, or there was a spa day, and these were really good mutual friends that we had. So I just always thought, I can't not go to this. I want to be there. Like, it's not really, I usually think it's not fair. Actually, she was feeling exactly the same way, as you can imagine. And it was only when we met up for this long conversation that we were both fearing. And like, it was basically like the same journey to get to where we were. You always assume, I think, about friendships that, I think you said it before, Ruth, that I'm so hurt, they got this wrong, they did this wrong. And we were thinking that about each other. But really, we both had shortcomings. And some of this was really just circumstantial. It's the time of life we were in as well. And some things had happened that were just very difficult for us both. And we didn't know how to navigate it and move through it. So when we actually sat down together, we realized after we got past the awkwardness of the initial part of the conversation that we'd both been really anxious about the conversation. We both didn't know what to do coming back into a situation like this where we'd gone from being very, very close to nothing. And I think that created some empathy on both sides, that actually we both recognized we could have done better in this situation. And we both came with the disposition of, I'm not here to drag up the last 2 years, but we're gonna talk about what needs to be talked about. We're going to choose to forgive. And then we're also not going to say, this is what it needs to look like moving forwards.
Wow.
We kind of just agreed, we're at a point of resolution. We're glad that we had this conversation, and then see where we go from there.
Because it got me thinking around, like, as we grow and evolve, whether and how our friendships change. Because I don't like that in some ways, that a lot of the like rhetoric around friendships is very transactional. So, and I get even the phrase of like, you know, if you're in a friendship group and you're the smartest person, you're this person, that you need new friends or whatever. I understand in theory what people mean, but it feels very transactional. Like, it's only what your friends can do for you that is why you should be friends with them. But obviously, as we get older, sometimes our values, our priorities change, and that doesn't necessarily line up. You know, people evolve at different rates or in different directions. How do we, or have either of you navigated where you are changing as a person, and it's not even in like a bitter or bad way, but those friendships just don't quite align with where you see or want to see life, if that makes sense, but not in like a bad or negative way, just more that we see the world very differently to maybe how we did when we met when we were 21.
I think my friends that I've met more recently, they're a lot more aligned with, you know, the kind of person I want to be and the kind of woman I want to be. So it's not hard in that sense. I think when I think about my older friends, I don't know. And it's going to sound like such a perfect answer, but I haven't really struggled much in terms of, you know, I'm maybe trying to be this person, or I'm trying to, you know, take my walk more seriously. I feel like everybody seems to be kind of on the same like journey. So, and yeah, there are going to be people that are more ahead than others, but it seems like everyone's kind of willing to learn and grow. So it's made it easier. I think maybe my friends from maybe 10 years ago, very different paths, and that's absolutely fine. Like, we're not friends anymore, and that's okay. And I couldn't imagine being friends with them now. If I still had them in my life, it'd be a lot more difficult because we're just on two different paths. But I think at least in the last 7-8 years and like my OGs, it's fine. Like we're all trying to grow in Christ. We're all trying to grow in our career, and it's easy. Well, yeah, it's easy.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, the last few years, where I've had people like that who I've probably felt, I feel like you feel quite loyal, this is maybe just me, feel quite loyal to people who you've known a long time. I think where we've maybe taken a bit of a different path, I've just stopped putting pressure on myself to keep feeling like, I've not seen that person for a while, I've not reached out to them, I've not had dinner with them. I really ought to, because I feel like I should out of loyalty rather than because we actually want to see each other. And I think an indicator for me has been, if they're also not pushing towards me, that's okay. You know, we were saying earlier about, but it's so sad. I think sometimes we become too nostalgic about things that were good in a season.
Don't even care that much.
And they're not, exactly. And they're not good now. They're just different, chosen different paths, or just would literally just different, revolving differently. And that's actually completely fine, and they probably need some different friendships as well.
And do you think like boundaries, because Dami, you spoke about that before, boundaries in friendships.
I am the queen of boundaries.
Because I realise that sometimes that's where a friendship, you're almost putting it on track to not succeed in a way that could actually be avoided by not having like healthy boundaries. And I know obviously like guys are different, but if I see like my husband and his friends, it feels like even their interactions is like very balanced. It never starts off where it's like, let's go for lunch every single week. Let's like speak on WhatsApp daily. So that there's never like a drop-off point where it feels like, okay, like we're no longer friends because we only speak once a month. Whereas I feel like female friendships can often be like very, very intense. Which is why also there's like more room in a way for like hurt to occur when you're almost like speaking to someone in a way that, unless they're like literally your child or inside your house, it probably doesn't need to be that intense. How have you kind of cultivated healthy boundaries in friendships?
I think for a long time I didn't have boundaries in my friendship. I only gained boundaries probably in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, which is quite recent.
Was there anything that prompted that?
There was. There was a whole situation. I just was dealing with some stuff online. I was basically being harassed for like a year. And that was a very, very difficult time for me and in my friendships as well. As much as my friends wanted to be there for me, I isolated myself from my friends because I was just so like embarrassed with what was going on. But they really did rally around me. And I think in that time, the boundaries of just, can I choose when we speak about this and when we don't, because for them, they're like super, super worried about me, but it was really, really affecting my mental health. So just knowing like, I don't want to talk about this today. Let's just talk about, I don't know, lip gloss, or we don't have to be super, super deep today. But then also just boundaries in the way your friends kind of receive you. So I think sometimes people don't have bad intentions, right? But there are things that might make you feel uncomfortable. And it's just the way you say it. Like, I just didn't really appreciate that. And I'm quite a sensitive person. And for a long time, I used to I just saw it as a weakness, being sensitive. But I think now that I'm surrounded by other sensitive people, it's actually a strength. Like, it's okay to be sensitive if you know how to like deal with things and how to express yourself in a way that people can understand. And I'm very, very firm on my boundaries now, because before, when I wasn't, I was just, it wasn't a good time. But I think boundaries are a good thing. And I don't think friendships should exist without boundaries. I think sometimes...
Isn't that interesting? Because I feel like in relationships, we're easy to be like, these are my boundaries.
Absolutely.
Whereas with friendships, it's almost like with family, that it's not free for all, but just like, if that's how you are, this is how I am. Whereas actually probably boundaries would probably save a lot of friendships if they were put in place.
Absolutely.
What have been some boundaries for you, Ruth? Can you think of anything that's been important to you? Maybe more of recent years that 10 years ago wouldn't have been a thing?
I think for me, one thing I'm mindful of is, because I work in like the creative field with Magnify, your schedule is different to say like friends who are in corporate, who probably in the day, they don't look at their phone. And I think sometimes you have those friends who's like, you're just on WhatsApp all the time. There's like over communication throughout the entire day that is fun, but it's not like the most productive way to live. In general. So I think I'm trying to be have that boundary, and also just have a boundary of like more in my heart where I place people as friends should not be so high before I actually know them, and like give it time, even if it's 2 or 3 years that you give time before like saying that somebody is like immediately your best friend or whatever. I think that that's something I'm learning, and I've learned from my husband because he is such a loyal person, and his friends, even if it's like somebody's birthday is 2 hours away and we've maybe even got something else on that day, he'll be like, okay, well, at least we'll just go and show face for 10 minutes. And I'm like, 2 hours away for 10 minutes, like, can we send them a gift? He's like, no. He's very big on like letting people know that they mean a lot to you. But obviously you can't, my point about that was more like, because I've seen that so close, how loyal he is, it's like challenged me in a good way, but he also has very healthy boundaries. So I think I've learned that healthy boundaries don't mean that you can't then have deep friendships. Whereas I used to feel like if you have any boundaries that maybe the person will feel like you're not really like invested in the friendship. But he's had friends who like literally now coming up to like 20, 25 years, he's still super close to those people, but it's not in like, I need to speak to you on a daily basis. Whereas I was previously very much a kind of daily basis type friend. But it's just, it then almost creates awkwardness when you have to pull back for life responsibilities, rather than the boundary in the first place should be that this is almost over communication.
I think one boundary, and this is probably going to sound a bit crazy, but one boundary that I've implemented is I don't do best friends. I wouldn't call anyone my best friend. I think I've done best friends for a few years, and it's unfair on the person because I now then put them on this pedestal that's a bit unrealistic. And if they ever fall short, I'm like super hurt and super offended. But I think now that it's like, there's no one person in my life that's like my bestest of best friends. I've got lots of close friends. My friendships have thrived since then. So, because I know I'm like an all or nothing kind of person, but it's not fair on some, like nobody asked to be put on that sort of pedestal. So I'm very, very mindful of, you know, where I place people in my life, but also just kind of trying to extend grace that this person isn't going to be my be-all and end-all. They're not my God. So I can't expect so much from one person. Yes, I have expectations from my friends, but now that it's more balanced, everyone's happier, and I'm definitely happier.
So I guess one of my questions is like, as women, how can we learn to have like healthy confrontation? Because confrontation isn't a bad thing, even if some of us see it that way, so that things don't like build up. Yeah, what kind of advice would you give, Dami?
I think it's quite simple. If it's a big conversation or it's maybe a big issue, have it in person. Having conversations in person change everything. I think via text, and sometimes even on the phone, you can't portray how you're really feeling. And sometimes if tensions are high, things can be said that you can't take back. But when you're sitting in front of someone, everyone's more humble. That's what I've noticed. Everyone's more humble and more considerate of how the other person feels. But just having real conversations in person, and it's not always convenient because everyone's super busy and we all have like different things on our to-do list, but making the time to have a conversation. If it's a friendship that you value, meet in person. Honestly, it can be a bit awkward. It's nerve-wracking on the way there, but at least you have it out on the table and everyone's just a little bit nicer, because are you really going to be disrespecting someone across, you know, the table from me? You won't. So just having conversations in person, I think it's a big game changer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody listening to this that has really related to what any of us have said, I think especially around feeling like a friendship's coming to an end, even if that's painful, or just simply that they don't really have the depth of friendships, perhaps that like you've described that you have, Dami, and they've thought, I really want that. What would you advise?
I think if you feel like your friendship is drifting, have a conversation, meet up in person and have a conversation. If it's something that's valuable to you, just have a conversation. Sometimes it might not go the way you want and you can see like, yeah, this person's done, but at least you tried. And be open to being vulnerable. I think I've had some of these conversations myself and I go in thinking I'm going to have my guard up and then I'm just going to hear what the other person has to say. And I end up just bawling, crying, like, this is so emotional, this is someone that I love and it's painful. But being open to being vulnerable, I think once you are, the conversation is just, you just get more out of the conversation. And if you feel like maybe you don't have the type of friends you want, I'd say first of all, try to work on being the kind of friend you'd want. So if you know there's something that you want in a friend, ask yourself, do I possess these qualities? Am I a good friend? separate yourself from bad friends, because you can be a great friend to the wrong people. So separating yourself, and you know when friends aren't good for you, you know. I don't have to tell you, you'll know. So separating yourself from those type of people, but also praying about it. I think God is really, really faithful. And if you ask for good friends, he will give you good friends. You just then have to pray for the wisdom to maintain those friendships. But so praying about it, working on being a good friend, and separating yourself from bad friends. But also not being shy to put yourself out there. If you see someone online or in person that, you know, you feel like your values align or you could really get on, drop them a message. There's nothing wrong. I do it all the time. I'm literally in the DMs, you know, saying, oh, I love this or I love that. I love what you've got going on. And you'd be surprised where things can go to from there.
Yeah. This has been such an amazing conversation. Dami, thank you so much just for your wisdom, your openness about your own life as well. And Ruth, just for your input has been amazing. So we always ask, as the Magnify community, like, how can we support you? Is there anything you're doing at the minute that we can back you in, or where can we find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Dami Opaleye. I mean, I'm on TikTok like here and there, not really on TikTok much, but mostly Instagram. That's where I'm there like every day. Just, posting.
So good. Yeah, this has been so good.
So
Thank
good.
you, Dami.
Loved it.
Thank you for having
Dami.
me. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Good.
It's been good.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation. We hope you feel as enlightened as we do.
We never want to take it for granted that we get to gather together online to encourage and inspire each other to put our best foot forward in our careers, finances, and relationships, all while being grounded in our faith.
If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and be the first to get notified when a new installment of the Magnify Conversation drops.
We know so many of our audience have a story to share. If you want a shot at joining us as a guest for a future episode, get in touch with Team Magnify by heading to Magnify Collective and filling out our contact form.
And if you're a brand who would like to sponsor our upcoming seasons, whether that's in the UK or internationally, get in touch with us at info@magnifycollective.com to connect.
We'll see you soon for another episode of the Magnify Conversations. From all our team and crew, have a wonderful week.